the stiff truth. So, why she gotta say shit? This is supposed to be a fucking secret.
Hey, I can't see my background if we have this dynamic view here.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna have to fix it.
I know it was fun. By the way, what a cool drink to make, was it not?
Yeah,
That was a good
yeah.
one.
I liked it.
Well, because look at this bad boy. Check it out. I ran the grenadine down the spoon because it doesn't really give you a lot of direction on the end.
I just kind of
Just threw it in there.
it just said top with it, so I topped with it. So it's got a little.
Yeah, look,
bottom.
I got some like running down here, like it's like a,
So, I did what I do.
It's in no way planned either that we have 2 weeks in a row with 2 drinks that are motherfuckers, but it's just the way it rolled. It's just the way it shook out. Colorado motherfucker.
I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to drinking a motherfucker. I'm not opposed to being a motherfucker. I've been called worse.
Yeah.
I've been called you motherfucker, a little motherfucker. I've been called a dirty motherfucker.
That one can be pretty heavy depending on what the context of that one. You know what I mean? Because be like, dude, you were watching straight porn, you dirty motherfucker. And you're like, yeah, I know. It's not me. Well, I don't know. How was that? That face was interesting. Let me try it out.
Well, I guess I wasn't prepared for it. I did switch it up though. I did not put milk in it. I put almond milk in it.
That's going to make it taste different for sure, because the creaminess of the milk probably is what kind of marries everything. I think it's really good. When I was putting it together with the rum, the 2 different types of rum, the 151, the dark rum, and then with the Galliano and the coffee liqueur, I was like, ooh, this is going to be good.
No, and it is. It's actually with the Galliano and the mixture of everything. It almost tastes like pepperminty, right?
This could be a really good winter drink. Good holiday drink.
Yeah, if you added some peppermint schnapps into that, it would be very pepperminty.
I imagine it's pretty dank because, I mean, let's just talk about it right here. I had to get the book out, see, the old bartender black book. But a Colorado MF, half ounce of 151, half ounce of vodka, half ounce of dark rum, half ounce of coffee liqueur, half ounce of Galliano, fill with milk or cream or almond milk if you're Bob. Shake that bitch like Michael J. Fox, and then top with grenadine, which is very ambiguous. Top with grenadine. Should we run it down the spoon or?
It didn't say float it, so I didn't.
I feel helpless without some more solid directions, to be honest with you. I'm going to write the man from Bartender Black Book and be like, you know what? Love your book, but I was, however, making a Colorado MF, and I felt a little bit lost, and I could find no direction here from you, and I feel like you really let me down, guy. Can you come out with the 11th edition, please, with a little bit more updates on how you fucking add the grenadine to a Colorado MF?
Yeah, kind of like Craigslist meetings in Central Park. I need more definitions of your version of top.
Yeah. Like seriously, top with grenadine could mean like, I guess it could just be a really cute top, right? Like a red cute top that I put on when I have this drink. Maybe that's what he meant.
Just a little bit of.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Hi.
Oh my goodness. Gosh. Well, I don't even know. I guess we should go ahead and probably start talking more about other stuff. I mean, we could just talk about this drink for a while if you want to.
I mean, you could do the intro.
I don't know. The intro is so lame. I mean, welcome to the Stiff Truth. I'm Scott Casanova. This is Bob West. We all know Bob West. Bob West is a family name. I think that's definitely a family name in the hearts of all Americans right now. Just something that everybody knows. Bobby West. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing really good. I have to
you have to do something with your face over there. You know what I mean?
I don't know what's going on with that. I can fix it. I can fix it.
Now, literally, I've only had a couple of, there we go. Crystal clear now. I've only had a couple of drinks of my Colorado MF. And I don't think you're going to be that blurry yet. I mean, it's dang, but it's not that dang, man. But well, I'll tell you what, we won't touch on it too much here because we got some other things we want to talk about today, Bob. But things have went up a notch in Afghanistan. Jesus Christ. There's got to be some kind of It's got to be some kind of response now. I mean,
Well,
just
there's
real.
been a couple of responses. So,
Hey
a couple
guys,
nights ago, there's a late night bombing on an ISIS K installation. So
Mhm.
that went down. I don't know the casualty count from that and what that actually looked like. And then today I read briefly because I've been kind of doing other things, but I did read briefly how the Marines killed a suicide bomber today. So it is
Huh.
going down there. You can tell the time is coming near to the deadline, like because tensions are definitely ratcheted about as high as they can possibly be right now.
I know we still got a solid 2 days there before the pressure cooker reaches its peak, so to
Yeah,
speak.
I
So
did see something cool though. 30 special forces units a couple of nights ago. 30 special forces. I don't know if it was teams or if it was just 30 people, but they rounded up 500 allies, all across, Kabul that weren't at the airport. So they went
hmm.
in at night with night vision and teams and had a coordinated effort to usher these families to the airport without being detected from the Taliban and starting too much shit. So they had a kind of a covert night ops, but they got 500 people. That's a fair amount for one night.
It's not bad. I'm gonna really. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you I was listening to you, but I'm gonna make a dramatic pivot, which makes it seem like I'm not. But when you said night vision, for some odd reason, I started thinking about remember Boys Life magazine back in the day, and
Oh
like
yeah,
in
of
the
course.
in the very back they would have like the X-ray glasses and stuff like that. So not night vision, but I was thinking about
Yeah, the
having X-ray vision.
exploding fucking gum,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
fake
yeah,
poop, the
yeah, yeah,
stink
yeah, yeah.
bombs.
I, in my ignorance, in my young ignorance, when I used to flip through those, like I want to say like when I was between like 7 and like 10, 11 years old, somewhere in that is when I always used to look at those books. I was like, man, I really need to I just need to get some of these x-ray vision glasses because it would be really cool if I could just come to school, nobody would know, and I'd be able to see through everybody, through walls, through their clothes, whatever it is. I felt I was really missing something amazing. And I found out later on that it was bullshit. I was really defeated, Bob. So I just wanted to just throw that out there. I know it's completely random, but Boys Life magazine.
I'm
Do they
sorry.
still make that magazine?
I bet they do. I,
Is it
I I don't know for sure. You can fact check me on that, but
it sounds like
definitely.
something that like petas would like subscribe to these days. You know what I mean? So maybe I should stay away from that now. Bad association with something called Boys Life magazine, I'd imagine. So I don't know. Anyways, I just throw that out there.
So now I've got to look and just see.
Well, while you're doing that, Bob, let's just go ahead and ramp up the conversation for today. I mean, we're going to get the dramatic product of whether or not Boys Life is still pumping out publications very, very shortly. But this is a COVID episode, baby. I know we try to stay away from this usually, but we're just jumping right in because I feel it needs to be talked on for a little bit here because where we're at, you know.
It looks like it's still good. They're still doing it.
Rest easy, stiffies. You can still go out and get your latest edition of Boys Life magazine and flip to the very back, and hopefully they're still there. It's a nice pair of X-ray vision glasses that are almost like the classified ads on the back. How they do it, you know what I mean? Interesting stuff.
Yeah, I never bought anything from that, but I did always see it.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
either. Yeah, you know.
I think it's funny that we did have the magazines though. Look at us go.
Yes, of course. But so, Bob, let's get right into the COVID frenzy here, bud. I guess I'll just start by kind of laying out my thoughts in general. I'm really annoyed with COVID. I think everybody is. I think I speak for the world when I say that it's old, it's boring. It's so 2020 right now. You know what I mean? But here we are rounding almost second full year of the pandemic. Let's face it. I mean, some people say that we're out of it. To a certain extent, we are if you're vaccinated. I will say that. But at the end of the day, it's still causing a bunch of problems economically and worldwide and socially and otherwise. It kind of feels to me, I know this is almost cliche now, but it is kind of feel like this is more serious for people that aren't vaccinated. So like the pandemic of the unvaccinated. Bob, jump right in here, buddy. Where are you at with the whole mess?
Well, I agree, and I see a lot of shit on social media, and I really never post on it because I just don't have time to argue with someone that obviously doesn't have a way to change their opinion. regardless of the information presented, because that seems to be the people that are so adamant against it.
But Bob, they're right. They're right.
My freedom.
No, we're not stereotyping. This could be anybody, right? Seriously.
So there's a lot of talk and things I hear about, well, why do I have to wear a mask? The mask doesn't protect me. And it's like, we went over that last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just an old thing. Why do I have to get the vaccine? There's still people that got the vaccine. The vaccine doesn't even work. People that got the vaccine are getting sick. Yes, like 1 out of 10,000 people or something that have the vaccine ends up sick, and maybe even in the hospital, because there's a breakthrough case, right? But the percentage is very, very, very low. So the interesting thing about that, from personal experience. So a couple of weekends ago, I went camping. I had a family member join us that the very next day after we got back called us and said that they were positive for COVID. So we went camping with COVID, right? It was s'mores and COVID.
That actually sounds like a nice little mini series, camping with COVID. All right, up next.
Great. It was great. With
Bobby West.
Starring Sean Austin. It was I don't know why Sean Austin, but he was there. He was there with the COVID. So we went camping with COVID, and
sorry, that's great.
Me and the family, most of us are vaccinated, right? Except for our 5-year-old, of course, for obvious reasons.
Damn little outbreak monkey.
That's right. An anti-vaxxer running around the house. But so we all tested negative. And I have probably still a dozen COVID tests at the house, just kind of on the ready. I stocked up and I saw a bunch, and I saw this thing, the numbers ramping up, and I started buying the rapid tests. Right. So I just have a bunch in stock at the house. So,
well, and just for context too, for the stiffies, Bob has a lot of tests in his house. This is not like a thing unique to COVID. He's got a lot of venereal disease tests and, other things in there on the ready. He always has. He's a very prepared guy. Bob, go ahead now that they have some context.
Thank you for that. So we test each other a lot. I was had a cold before we went camping. So I tested right after I saw the doctor, right before I saw the doctor, right? So I could confirm that it was negative or positive with the doctor. And so I got a negative test. I saw the doctor, whatever. 3 days later, symptoms got a little bit worse. I was sneezing more. I developed a cough. I was like, I better test again, because sometimes there's an incubation period, right? So then I test again, another negative. So now I've had 2 negative tests in 3 days. And then I go camping, right? Because I knew I was under the weather, but if it's just a head cold and we're all camping in our open space, not that big of a deal. Just fine. Don't, drink after me or whatever. So we were definitely around a positive, COVID person that whole time. And none of us got COVID. Unfortunately, Jadzia didn't get it either because she's not vaccinated. But in this case, I would say that the vaccinations probably did work. Because we were definitely in close contact around the campfire, sharing food, well, not sharing, but cooking each other food and eating meals together and hanging out for 2 days.
Don't leave it out either. Don't leave it out either. Family butt sex. It's a West family tradition, right?
No, family.
So I'm not an animal.
so drinking, eating, camping, family camping, normal stuff.
Camping with COVID.
But yeah, camping with COVID. But none of us got it. And so then, and we all tested, right? The day we found out, we all gathered the family around, even Jadzia. We all came around and we did our test, all negative. So on Thursday, that was a Monday. On Thursday, because that was 5 days really since our last contact, I wanted to test again because the incubation period, and we tested again and still all negative. So when people are like, well, the vaccine doesn't work, I would argue that the vaccine does work. I think there's instances where it struggles because everyone's physiology is probably a little bit different, but everyone's immune system. But in our case, we are definitely around COVID in close contact enough that my daughter's still out of school for quarantine and isolation protocol. Mm-hmm. She doesn't go back until tomorrow, finally. But so I hear that nonsense, and I really would really want to reply to it on social media, but I don't want to waste my time like that. I mean, I've got a family and I'm in school now and I've just got other things to do. Madden just came out. I just don't have time.
I like how you dropped the M bomb there, but no, obviously you're absolutely right. Here's the other thing. You're not going to change anybody's opinion. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. You start screaming, they're going to be saying fake news, misinformation, and vice versa, right? So why get into that screaming at a wall thing? The other thing is this. And I agree with you. It is discouraging. I'm going to even admit it, that there is so much, I wouldn't say media coverage, but I guess that's the word I'd want to use about outbreak cases. You know what I mean? There's multiple politicians. Fox News loves to let you know every single politician that has an outbreak case. But that is discouraging because traditionally, like old school vaccines, it's kind of like once you get it, you're done taking it. You can't get the disease anymore. This is a little bit different. I mean, we have to just admit that and say it is what it is. It definitely, though, in my mind, makes things easier to deal with, right? Like a lot of these breakthrough cases where they're going to the hospital. Imagine if they weren't vaccinated, they'd probably be fucking dead. There probably would be no casual inconvenient trip to the hospital. It would be a trip to the morgue or something like that. So you got to put that in perspective. And the other thing is, I really feel strongly that I'm in a better position right now because I am vaccinated, regardless of anything, right? Because I don't know, and I think we've talked about this, or maybe I was talking with Jamie about it, but I may have gotten COVID twice. You know, I may have gotten it like before we became a thing because I was kind of sick and the whole family was sick in like January, March, or January,
before
February.
There was tests or anything.
Yeah, at 2020, you know, who knows? We could have had it. I could have been asymptomatic. I have no fucking clue, but I'm not going to bank on that and say, oh, you know what? I probably already got it. I think I'm asymptomatic and just kind of move forward with life. And yeah, statistically, I'm probably extremely low risk to a variety of people that are unvaccinated right now and still being resistant. But the other thing is this. I know there was a large group of people that were, and I'll just say vaccine hesitant, because that does make sense. Okay. I want to separate that. Being an anti-vaccine.
We were vaccine hesitant.
Yeah, dude, getting it. I told you, like the anxiety attack that I had just getting the first and second shot, like waiting that 15 minutes after, was like, I hope I don't fucking just die. I hope I don't.
Same, dude. I was trying to control a oncoming panic attack while I'm waiting my 15 minutes right after that vaccine. So I was like, definitely scared.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there like talking to people like, so what's the side effect we're looking for? Is my head going to explode? And does that cause alarm enough to take me to the hospital? I mean, what are we going to do here? But yeah, I mean, look, everybody probably was to a certain extent because it was only under experimental authorization by the FDA, not an official stamp of approval. However, you had a large group of people that were able to rationally put our minds, meaning the collective, hey, you know what? I get the vaccine's a little bit rolling the dice, but I'd rather roll the dice with a vaccine that's had 10 plus years of testing on its technology versus a disease that we have really no idea about base level and that can continuously keep mutating until it's like gets really scary. I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my chips on the vaccine, right? So I was okay with people that were telling me, yeah, you know, I'm just not really comfortable getting it for me or my family until it's officially approved by the FDA. Well, folks, it is approved by the FDA now, at least the Pfizer one. And I think Moderna is going to be very shortly thereafter, right? They're going to be approved
probably here in the next couple of weeks.
And it's just because Pfizer rolled everything out first. They had the first trials being done on everything. So it makes sense. But now, funny enough, because people now went from being rationally, logically vaccine hesitant to, well, you know, yeah, they approved it, but the FDA is fucking shady. You can't trust anything the FDA is doing. They're just approving it now to get people to do it. You're like, motherfucker. You know what? You're right, guys. Everybody out there that really wants their freedom, you guys are always 10 fucking steps in front of everybody, smarter than everybody. And that's what we love about you. But Jesus Christ, man, it's like they're always going to find an excuse not to do something that is a little bit risky. Let's face it. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say getting the vaccine is not risky. There's risk to everything. Hey, every time somebody that's never taken ibuprofen or acetaminophen, every time they take a couple of those to ease the pain of a headache, you're also taking a risk. It may be just as minute or just as small as a risk as taking this fucking vaccine, but it's still the fucking case. And I think people are kind of blowing that part of it out of proportion and acting like it's atypical or something like that.
Yeah, and also to speak on the efficacy, right? It's just like, well, if I get the vaccine, I can still get COVID. Yes, absolutely, 100%. You can still get COVID, but if you also get the flu shot every year, you can still get the flu. And I really think they're similar. I think they're similar in the type of viruses they are with the cold and flu versus the COVID. I think that they're similar viruses and how they act and mutate and change and all that. And I think that you will get it, but just like with the flu shot, if you do get the flu after getting the flu shot, chances are it's going to be much less impactful to you personally as it would have been if you'd have gotten the flu without, because you normally when you get a flu shot, Scott, you're getting last year's latest, greatest iteration of the flu and their best guess at what it will mutate into for next season. So you're actually getting 9-month-old technology against a current flu. That's why it's not 100%. And I would imagine that the COVID spike proteins is probably chasing that same kind of thing, because we've already seen, I think it's Lambda that has a different type of protein that it attaches on, so it's already more resistant to the vaccine in general. So it's not 100%, but it's the only thing that we have, and hundreds of thousands of people have died. I'd say it's our social responsibility to go for it. I mean, we have soldiers that are willing to go fight and die, right? And they sign up. My nephew's a soldier right now, about to probably get deployed somewhere. But
is that the same nephew? Who?
I have a lot of nephews.
Okay. I was wondering if the same one that I knew.
It's my brother's son. But regardless of that, the least that we could do is take on a little bit of risk for the betterment and the safety of our country for each other. Like, how come we don't have to have skin in the game, but we can point to the soldiers? Well, we got the soldiers, but when it comes time to us actually doing something to help our neighbors, as Americans, there's so much hesitancy, and I don't want to do it. I want someone else to do it because we're freedom.
And that is what pisses me off, though, about the anti-vaxxers, is they're sicker than everybody else of wearing masks. They're sick of all the restrictions, but they're okay with us jumping on the fucking grenade while they sit there with no skin in the game, but complain the most. Go fuck yourself, first of all, for that. You know what I mean? Like, why should I take all the risks for your fucking comfort, first of all? No. That's not how it should work. But I will say this. The other thing that I thought was pretty interesting is, well, I mean, a couple of things really, but more than anything, selfishly, for me and for you and for us together, the other reason why I think everybody should get vaccinated if they can, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that too. I know there are some certain peoples out there that just can't take the vaccine for health reasons or whatever. I totally get that. It's a very small percentage of the population, though, that we're talking about here that we would be okay with foregoing the vaccine if everybody else was on board. But the other thing is this, because so many people are still unvaccinated and we have this wave of the Delta variant. Yes, okay, the Delta variant is not more deadly. Yes, it is more transmittable and all that shit, and people are kind of downplaying it. I get that. I like to downplay it too, so I don't scare myself and can't sleep at night or whatever. I like to say, yeah, this is okay. But the other thing is, because there's so many people that are unvaccinated, there's still so many people going to the hospital. There's still so many people that are getting really sick and getting on ventilators. And you know what happens there is then all of a sudden it starts to interrupt the social dynamic of how we live, right? So things start shutting down again. Let's just say my Deftones concert that I bought tickets for in February 2020 got rescheduled again to fucking 2022 in April. So these kind of things continue to happen, and it's a buzzkill, and it's very deflating for everybody. And the big reason why this keeps happening is because, yes, the Delta variant is there, but if everybody was vaccinated, they would have really light cases or almost no, for a lot of people, maybe no side effects at all that are noteworthy enough to take you out of the game with your regular, daily routine or whatever. But because that isn't the case, it's starting to hit the brakes on our society again on a whole. And it's just making this longer and longer and longer, where we can't get back to quote unquote some kind of normal. And that's what pisses me off on a selfish tip. You know what I mean? Because I want to go see concerts. I want to go do shit like this. But as long as there continues to be outbreaks in places like fucking Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, and Texas and New York or whatever, we're going to have these problems, man. And I can't get back to normal either. So that pisses me off.
No, I'm 100%. So there's this thing about, the COVID fatigue, right? You've probably heard the term COVID fatigue. And a lot of it's from the people that have been wearing masks and doing their part, that are vaccinated, right? And they're getting frustrated, with, we keep having to carry the load for the country, right? We're minimizing.
Bob, you like to carry the load in his mouth. Hey, so, by the way, but quick PSA. Anybody on Stash right now? There's a Stash party going on right now. Just thought I'd let you know that. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. By the time they get this, it'll be over. We need to start live streaming our show.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of us suffering fatigue, but I'll still wear the masks, even though I know that personally my risk is pretty low. Even my chance of spreading it is pretty low because even if I got COVID, the the quality of the COVID infection would be much lower, and much less spreadable than someone that wasn't vaccinated. There would just simply be less COVID inside of me to spread, right? Um, so but I'll still continue to wear the mask, and I'll still continue to implement our own personal protocol and try to keep people safe, and treat myself like I might have it and could spread it.
By the way, the stash party doesn't start for another like 55 minutes. I don't know why it gave me a fucking text alert right now. I just pump faked. You know what I mean? But you're absolutely right.
They just know you have to be prepared.
That's the one thing here. And this is the one thing maybe where you and I differ a little bit. I will wear the mask, but I am highly resistant to doing so at this point. I do feel, unless I'm in like a closed off area with people of high, what am I looking for here? High risk. If people are very high risk and they're not vaccinated for some reason, then I'll throw in the fucking mask because that makes sense. But right now, if I'm going to Costco, Target, or if I'm going somewhere where it's like a big open area, I'm not wearing the goddamn mask.
Oh.
That to me, I'm holding on. I am holding on to. I do want to get something out of taking the experimental vaccine, and for me, that's taking off the goddamn mask.
So that's not all me, Scott. I can't take credit for all that. It's not my benevolent attitude. The governor has an indoor mask mandate here.
You're like, I can get in trouble. So it's not necessarily me. But okay.
It's just kind of me following the rules because I'm a good citizen. But okay. I don't wear it outside. Like as soon as I'm out of the store and it's not required, I take it off. I was at a football game last Friday with the family. We didn't wear a mask. We were outside.
Can I say this real quick? That drink, as you start getting down to more of the bottom of there, where the 151 probably sitting right now. Oof. Huh?
Yeah,
huh?
And I like how the drink will encourage the truth. The further down the drink you get, that's a good drink. It's a pretty good drink. Yeah, it's potent. It's definitely a stiff one.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and I understand like the vaccine hesitant folks. Beyond the fact that it's been there, I've heard so many times from I'll just say it from family. I want to know the long term implications of taking this, and it's like, well, I mean, I took it like 5 months ago.
Yeah,
there you have it, guys. That's the side effects. If you want to know the side effects, just ask me. I'll tell you. I'm taking it, and still, it's always a moving goalpost of excuses.
Yeah, exactly. Once something else is like completely fucking smashed, right? The objection is just completely gone, like the fucking FDA approval. That was one thing, dude, before they did that, and they kept saying it on the news, right? They're like, Pfizer is pretty much ready, to get I'm like, let's go already. You know what I mean? Because like I'm watching the news, I'm watching all this shit, all these outbreaks, all these things happen, Delta this, Delta that. I'm like, dude, just approve it and then approve it. And as soon as it's approved, there's a fountain of other excuses. And basically, like just like contrary to like their excuse before, it's now just like they just flipped it. They flipped the excuse that they were using before to where it doesn't even make any sense. It's kind of what I'm saying. Again, like, well, they approved it. You're like, oh yeah, well, I can't trust the FDA. Then what the fuck do you want me to do here? Let's just face it. You're not going to take a vaccine. I almost feel like if the COVID vaccine somehow, again, wave a magic wand, has been out and approved for 100 years, we'd still have a big faction of fucking morons that are not taking it.
So, there's a couple of different reasons people like at this point refuse the vaccine, right? One, it's because they're just scared. They're scared to take it, which is normal. We were scared to take it. Right, it's fucking scary. It is. I mean, it's new. It just came out like relatively new. So we did take it. It was fucking scary. If you're scared, I understand you're scared. But if you're scared, get a fucking dog. Like just get in there and get it. It'll be over quick. Don't look away. Right, watch a TikTok or something on your phone while you're getting it, and like it never happened. It'll be like that time in grade school. Right. So
Bob gives the same advice. He gives the same advice for like kind of the first time. With a man. So yeah, that makes sense.
So, and then there's the other side. Away.
Yeah.
There's the pure political side where it's I'm not going to get the vaccine because the lefties said I should.
The Dems are pushing it
because if I get it, then they'll win, and I'm not going to win. And then there's this sort of mind trick that the anti-vaxxers have really pushed over themselves. And it's not even the anti-vaxxers, it's the anti-COVID vaxxers. I know plenty of vaxxers that won't get this vaccine.
Well, and let me go ahead and say this real quick. I'm sorry to interject, but I'm actually okay with the anti-vaxxer movement on a whole saying, hey, you know what? We simply just don't trust the government, right? Like, I'm not just because if they're doing it like universally, I'm like, dude, I'm just hesitant in vaccines in general. And here's why: A, B, C, and D. I'm okay with that. But like you said, when it's politically motivated to just COVID, that smells like bullshit, right? You know what I mean? That's the one that's literally just saying, oh, so it wasn't on your team. The vaccine's not under your team name anymore. So you're just not going to do it because then they win and you get points deducted from your team. How fucking petty is that? You know what I mean?
And this attitude that we're dealing with now in this pandemic, this goes back to the last 15, 20 years. Democrats and Republicans, we've talked about on the show, creating the tribalist politics and pushing fear to their own parties to gain loyal voters. Right. But that fear has, and that loyalty has gotten so fierce, and the tribal politics have gotten so bad, and that now you're seeing people that simply won't take it because, well, this is the damn vaccine, which is ironic, right? Because this is the vaccine that fucking Trump fast forwarded with his Project Lightning or whatever the fuck it was called.
Project Warp Speed. Get it right,
Warp
baby.
Speed. There you go.
That's one of Trumpy's best achievements among many of his other momentous magna achievements. I like that. I like it.
He is the reason that this thing got pushed out there for use in an emergency status. That's not a thing, right? But Trump made it as part of this speed.
Can I go ahead and say I'm grateful for that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He did a good job.
Oh my! This virus what did you just say?
I know.
Your fellow Dems just shit their pants like right now. Like, no, Bob, don't give him credit for anything. But yes, I do have to say, Operation Warp Speed, good fucking idea when you're in a global pandemic for the first time in modern history. Let's face it, 1900, not really modern history. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. That's a stiff truth.
Yeah, you can take that one to the bank, right? I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah, you will.
Anyway, so no, he did a good job of pushing this out, but then as soon as he left office, all of a sudden, well, now it's Biden's vaccine. I don't quite understand the mind trick that happened there to now, well, this is a leftist agenda and now there's some sinister things involved, but in 2020, before the election, it was legit.
Well, I guess you just have to think of the talking points, right? Trump's talking points were never about you should get the vaccine because it's for the greater good. You should wear a mask because it's for the greater good. You should wash your hands and social distance because it's for the greater good, right? His talking points and his campaign was kind of saying some shit contrary to that, even though, like, if you asked him, he would say, yeah, no, you should probably get the vaccine. But the Republican... Right, but the Republican standpoint, I hate to say that, it's a faction, right.
It's a faction of the Republican Party. It is not all Republicans.
Yeah, the far right conservatives or what have you. They're the ones during the pandemic, Biden or Trump being president, that were like, fuck this social distancing, fuck these masks, fuck these protests. I want to go to my fucking NASCAR fucking games. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is. Like, it was all around just like, fuck all this that's going on.
I'm just gonna stop you for saying you said NASCAR games, and I know that's awesome. Okay,
yeah, anyway, I know. Right? Continue. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, again, everything was very. We don't want to do anything conformist to what the left is trying to push, which is kind of like, hey, let's buckle together for the greater good. You know what I mean? So we can get through this, everything. And the right's agenda, far right's agenda, and their talking points were, no, dude, we're fucking free. I am free. I'm free to do what I want. You can't fucking tell me to do anything. If there's a pandemic going on, who cares? Because that infringes on my freedom if you bring it to my front door. And then the left, which, again, just as annoying, if you ask me, the far left is kind of like, let's wear a mask in outer space. Because it
while we're driving,
yes, let's do this. Let's just virtue signal the entire time about how much better we are for everybody else because we're going to go overboard with the precautions. And that's kind of labeling them, right? So they got labeled by everything that was wholeheartedly good to do. The far left took that and ran with it and kind of became their MO. And all of a sudden the far right despises everything that they stand for. So you've got this hatred of extremes, and it's all good in nature. Like, hey, I want freedom, right? I like rights. I do. You know what I mean? But I also like living in a society that kind of, binds together and finds some unity and overcomes gigantic problems and obstacles that we're faced with too. But if you go like too far to the left or the right, then they become really fucking annoying. And I think that's what happened too.
And I was thinking about a good analogy for like the freedom and the vaccine and mask argument about protecting others and all that, right? It's like, all right, so you have the freedom to not wear a mask, you have the freedom to not get vaccinated. Sure, you may not get entitlements as such as taxpayer public schools for your children if they don't get vaxxed, which is the same as it's always been by any vaccine that the school system has mandated it be important to be in the system. But so you don't have to do that or whatever, and you could hurt other people by not wearing a mask or not getting vaccinated and going on with your normal life in the same manner as you can own a gun, you can buy bullets, you can go to a crowded theater, but you don't have the freedom to just start shooting the bullet in the crowded theater and hoping you don't hit anyone. That's where your freedom ends. Just like that's where I kind of compare it to the COVID thing. You do have that freedom, but then if you want to go to that crowded room with your gun, that's where you're going to have to put a stop on that limit to your freedom, and there's limitations to all freedoms. We can all shoot guns, but murder is illegal. I mean, it's there's got to be stops and there's got to be rules. It's just not unlimited freedom because that's fucking Mad Max.
Right. I mean? Yeah. Unlimited freedom
shit.
of a single individual is essentially a dictatorship too, if they're in power. You know what I mean? You don't want your leader to have unlimited freedom. So hence you can't have unlimited freedom because unlimited is where you start infringing on other people's freedoms and rights. And yeah, that's 101 of what everybody should know here, but it seems to go out the window with
Scott,
COVID.
There's another interesting thing that I've been like haunted by when I think about it, right? I get a lot of like the ultra conservative anti-mask folks that are saying, well, open the country up. You're killing small business. But what's the fastest way to open the country up? It's like getting the fucking vaccine so that we can all go back to the stores and give these small businesses money and contribute back to the financial system. That's the fastest way. The irony of that. It baffles my mind.
It is really funny too, because again, that's why it's illogical. You know what I mean? Some of these gripes that they have too, because do we shut down the world outside of certain strains? Do we shut down the world every single flu season? Right? No, because we do have a flu shot, right? And many people do get it every year, and it kind of
every year for 9 years straight now.
And it makes it tolerable on a whole for most of society. Now, look, if you're a 95-year-old man with fucking asthma and cardiovascular health problems in a nursing home, you probably don't want to get the flu or COVID, or you're probably going to die. But again, for most people, working Americans and everything, yeah, I mean, the best way to move on is to get the fucking jab, take a little bit of the risk, and move on, right? But the hesitation and the picketing about this is infringing on your freedom. We're just like, here we are. We're rounding year number 2 of fucking COVID. Do we want this to be a decade-long pandemic? Because it seems like that's where we're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because what happens if another mutation comes around and the vaccine doesn't work at all and we're right back where we were last March?
Well, I sure hope that you've got some stock in Pfizer because I don't know.
Because that's devastating, right? That's devastating to us. That could kill our country. That could tank our economy. That could tank the global economy. That could set everyone back. I forget the time period in like the 1700s when the global economy tanked. I think it was when they were transitioning from whale oil, but it would set us back to really an anarchy type of structure in the world again, and people would have to like build up their systems of finance and government again. And I know that's like doom and gloom and worst case scenario, but if the global economy tanks like that, I mean, what the fuck else are you to infer?
Yeah, well, that's a good point, man. Say what you will. I'm a little bit of a separationist and isolationist to a certain extent, right? When it comes to like, well, if it's not our fucking problem in America, let's fuck it. But you're right. You can't ignore the globe, right? You can't ignore you just can't. I mean, when it comes to how this would affect, again, if they have another strand that comes out, another mutation that we cannot fight at all, the entire world is back to the drawing board. And we're literally going to have a repeat of March 2020 again, and what happened there. And it's probably going to be even worse, right? Because who knows before we find another way to cure it, so to speak, or even to subside the hardcore side effects. I don't know, man, but it is frustrating, dude. I don't know about you, dude, but I think we said this last year. I hate to say this, and I hope people do take it out of context, but it is somewhat refreshing that there's some crazy shit going on in Afghanistan, to pull the fucking spotlight off of COVID 24/7 news cycle, because it has to be. You know what I mean? It's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're treading right now. And it's because there's so many people that are just not on board. You know what I mean? I hate to say it, but I just did.
And it's really unfortunate. And I really want to distinguish that this is an attack against the Republican Party. I know dozens of Republicans that got the vaccine as soon as they could. This is not a Republican thing. And it's just not.
Dude, I know some Republicans that got the vaccine like the same time a lot of the senators were getting them. You know what I mean? Because of the industry they were in, like healthcare or whatnot, that got it right away. And that actually convinced me, like, you should get it. It far out. I'm just quoting somebody, but getting the vaccine, the risk of getting the vaccine far is outweighed, versus like what could happen with the coronavirus. You know what I mean? So just go ahead and get it and move on with life. I was like, great. Okay, sounds good.
And for the country, like, not just people's health, but the economy, the state of the country, the posture in the world. Like, there's so devastating things. And all you got to do is your part, assume a little bit of risk for the betterment of our country, which is, I know that's crazy. But that's the way that this country's always done it. We haven't seen it really since World War II, when people just said, you know what, I'm going to give up my potential, my family's future, and I'm going to go fight this country, because without me making the sacrifice, there might not be a country to fight for, right? We're going to go try to beat the Germans, right? But now it's like, let's beat the COVID, right? I mean, we do have to kind of all put a little bit of risk and try to get that reward and move forward. And I just don't think that a lot of quote patriots are willing to put in the risk and put in the effort for the betterment of the country. And I think that's pretty sad.
And when Bob says patriots, he's talking about people with mullets and just camo hats. I'm just saying, that might be kind of the proper regular attire. I don't know.
I'm a strange guy. I have my flag hanging on my pole in the front yard, and I want to put a black flag below it and a rainbow flag below that. A Second Amendment flag below that. Just flags going all the way to the bottom. Just really confuse the neighbors.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
This guy has pride and doesn't take prisoners and loves guns. What the fuck is going on with this guy? And I come out with my AR. Hi.
Put your shirt tied up like that.
Right.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I hope we can quit talking about COVID sooner than later, honestly. Even if it is, which to a certain extent, I feel that coronavirus is going to be a common everyday thing that we talk about, hopefully in passing to a certain extent, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, we just have to kind of be prepared for it on a yearly basis, almost like we do the flu. You know what I mean? It may change. Like, people are probably very upset about that. I'm very upset about that too, that this pandemic and this way of living seems to be for the long haul to a certain extent. But I don't think there's anything wrong with maintaining good, like, personal hygiene and like washing your hands religiously and like not getting too close to people you don't know and breathing on them and shit like that. That's okay with me to a certain extent. So I'll just say that it's not all bad to be a little bit more mindful of being clean and to be hygienic. You know what I mean?
I think that a lot of good's going to come out of this COVID. I think that a lot of the like all the people that have died, it's not going to be in vain. I think this is a catalyst that's going to be remembered in history for changes in the human race and how things change from this point going forward. I think, like you said, we are going to be mindful of each other and respect the possibility of infectious disease a lot more, and be mindful of spreading things when they come out. Be mindful of wearing masks on a subway, even if there's no pandemic going around, just to be better, just to try to help spread anything and be better citizens, right? I think that's always going to change. I think that crowded areas will probably always change going forward, just in general. The other thing I think that'll come out from this that's positive is COVID is a lot like the flu and the cold, right? That we had talked about several times on the show, or earlier in this episode. I really think that once we get a handle on COVID and figure out the vaccine tech to really stop COVID, we may end up stopping the flu and the cold also in the next 10 years. And that's gone too.
Yeah.
Which is good because at the rate the ice is melted, there's some new ones coming.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the other thing I was just going to say too. We are, not to be a downer or anything, but we are completely overpopulated in this world. You know what I mean? I think when I was a teenager, there were 6 billion people. Now I want to say there's like 8 or 9 billion people in the world. We're not slowing down production of people, and we're not doing really a whole lot to protect the environment very much. So what you were just saying, I think that's very relevant moving forward, is like, yeah, even when there's no pandemic, there's could be one right around the corner if you're not careful. And I think it makes sense to be a little bit more mindful, since we continue to pile on more people in this place. And where there's more people, there's more filth. And where there's more filth, there's more disease. So that's just the way it goes, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying, baby?
I know what you're saying.
Well, as long as you know what I'm saying. Well, that's about it. I convinced Bob. I'm glad we could have this conversation, Bob. But honestly, I think we're nearing the end of our time here today, Bob. And it's always a bittersweet thing because, God, I do love chit-chatting with you. And I'm glad we talked about this. Hopefully there's some good takeaways from people out there. Maybe not. Maybe we're going to sound like fucking idiots. And that's okay. That's okay. You can have that opinion. You have your rights.
We do. And we have the right to get ready for our draft tonight at 6.
So coming up, baby.
Draft number 1. Draft number 1, league number 1. So just to fill everyone in, Scotty and I are in 2 fantasy football leagues this year.
Because we're cool guys. That's right.
Because we need to pile on the stress factor in our lives because we don't have enough going on.
We don't have enough going on during the week with our 9-to-5 jobs. So we figured just make sure to tune it up a little bit more with the stress and the suspense on the weekends. You know what I mean? That's healthy. Always keeping us on our toes ourselves, that is.
But if somehow we end up in the playoffs, you can bet there'll be a bottle of Redbreast coming around for a bet. But we'll see. Got to make the playoffs first.
That's true.
So yeah, that's it. I'm not even sorry. That's our COVID rant. Get vaccinated. I'm not even going to say don't.
Get the fucking jab. Get the fucking jab, pussies.
Yeah, don't be scared. If you're scared, get a dog. Do your part.
I love that PSA. Get a fucking dog.
If soldiers can die for our country, then you can get a fucking shot. You know what I mean?
You know, it's crazy, Bob, just like looking ahead a little bit. It's like after the last recent episode of The Stiff Truth, puppy adoptions have went up 25%. No, you know what? I fumbled it so bad because my drink is good. I'm done. I think we're gonna have to cut this out. I'm done.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. And again, catch us on Patreon. Everything helps. That's it. Thanks. We'll see you guys next week.
Later, Bobby.
See
you, bud.